Hello, everybody. My name is Henryk Konsek, and I would like to tell you something about using Jenkins X together with AWS and EKS service. So, just few words about me. Currently, I'm working as a chief architect at Capsilon. Capsilon is a fintech company creating software for mortgage industry. I used to work at Red Hat for the past couple of years, and I'm pretty much in love in AWS, cloud technologies, Golang, and Java. And in this short talk, I would like to tell you briefly what AWS EKS is, then about some general challenges related to Kubernetes CI/CD. Then a few words about Jenkins X and the main purpose of the presentation, which is short demo demonstrating how actually Jenkins X works. All right, so let's start with EKS. EKS is a managed Kubernetes offering from Amazon. It is not the cheapest one, especially for the master node, which is paid, and is quite different, for example, from Google offering or DigitalOcean offering, where you don't have to pay anything for master node in Kubernetes. You pay only for workers, but for EKS you have to pay $150 per month per cluster. And what is really nice about AWS EKS service is that it maps Kubernetes abstractions pretty nicely into well-known AWS offerings. So, for example, worker nodes are EC2 instances, and you can actually see them in the console, in your EC2 console. Volumes are backed by EBS storage. Ingress load balancing is connected to application load balancer, all this kind of stuff. And we'll talk about this a little bit later more, but this is like really nice thing for existing AWS users, because that allows them to use Kubernetes as the abstraction on the top of services they already know. When it comes to managing nodes and creating EKS clusters in general, this is not so easy task actually, and I highly recommend to use a tool called EKS from Weaveworks, which is a simple command line tool, simple yet powerful, that allows you to very easily create your EKS cluster out of EC2 worker nodes into it. It's really good, and Jenkins X happened to use that tool under the hood, so it's pretty amazing, and I will demonstrate how it works in the moment. All right, so so we know that we can create cluster on AWS using EKS service, but let's talk a little bit about what kind of problems we could encounter after we create this cluster, and assuming that we would like to create some simple CI/CD pipeline that will create the application and like deploy it automatically into the cluster on changes. So let's focus a little bit on our expectations from the Kubernetes. So the thing is that basically every Kubernetes advocate, when talking about Kubernetes, describes Kubernetes story like that. You can containerize your application. You have some application providing business value. You can containerize it using, for example, Docker. You could tell Kubernetes that you would like to achieve certain state. Like, for example, I would like to have 10 instances of this application behind my load balancer. And then Kubernetes will take it from here and will create that desired state for you. And you would like, of course, repeat that for every application you have. So, and for every commit for that application. So when I make some change in my application, I would like this change to go through the CI/CD pipeline and end up behind the load balancer eventually. So this is that's when it comes to expectations from Kubernetes. However, the reality is quite different, because it includes many complicated steps like setting up Docker builder node on your CI/CD server. It requires you handling credentials and authentications, because probably you would like to push, it's very, very likely that you would like to push your images into private Docker registry. So it means that you need to include some kind of credentials management into the mix. You need to configure your CI/CD pipeline to be able to push into this private registry. You need to package your application into something higher level, because probably you would like to deploy front-end application, some backend microservice, and some dependencies related to that, and you would like to deploy that as a semi-atomic unit of deployment. So you need something to package this kind of stuff and express those dependencies. So you, in practice, need something like a Helm or a similar tool that will provide you this kind of packaging. And if you've been working with Helm, that like that, creating all this YAML files for Helm templating can be quite challenging. You also need to deploy your Helm charts somewhere if you would like to version them. So you probably need to set up something like a Helm chart museum or similar service. The other challenge related to Kubernetes is cluster management in general, because there is no unified API for managing Kubernetes clusters. Creating new cluster is different for every cloud provider. You will do this differently for EKS, differently for Google offering, differently for Azure. So there is no unified way, and this additional challenge, because that would mean that you need to script, probably create stuff like Terraform, Ansible, or other kind of scripting that will express how to provision your cluster, and you will do this differently for every cloud provider. And another moving part in this is Jenkins setup, because if you are deploying Jenkins in Kubernetes, it is very, very likely that you would like to make use of the fact that you are deploying it on the cluster of workers. So you would like to distribute load of your jobs among those workers. So you need to configure that. Also, you need to install all Kubernetes related tooling into your Jenkins and into builder nodes. So you need to install Helm there, Docker, all this kind of stuff, and you need to configure it. You need to make sure that Helm can properly authenticate against your cluster. All those elements is something that you need to configure. And finally, you need to define pipeline, which probably is not the simplest pipeline in the world, because it includes many steps like building Docker image, building actual application, packaging application into this Docker image, generating Helm charts, deploying your Helm charts, all this kind of stuff. And all this has to be expressed in the pipeline, and all those pipelines for every of your applications should be consistent with each other. So this is another challenge that you will face. And this is where Jenkins X projects comes in. And Jenkins X basically provides you like a single tool, like single command to rule them all, to rule all the other tooling. And the simple tool that provides you also the abstraction about, for example, around, for example, cluster provisioning. So you become kind of cloud provider agnostic when defining certain stuff. And Jenkins X is highly opinionated. It creates CI/CD pipelines in a way that follows well-established patterns from, for example, DevOps patterns from Accelerate book, which is like awesome book, by the way. I highly recommend to read it if you are a DevOps enthusiast. And this is good because in general, when creating this kind of CI/CD story, it is very likely that you would prefer convention over configuration, and you probably would like to have something that just works, and then just to be able to configure it when needed. And the good news is that Jenkins X provides you pretty extensive possibilities when it comes to configuring configuration of the pipeline. You can use things like build packs, for example, that provides you something like really customizable step for certain types of applications. You can replace some Docker images that are used by Docker for building, so you can customize the flow to pretty high degree. So I would say that this is the best world. Start with reasonable defaults and then configure it with extensions. When it comes to opinionated setup for AWS in particular, it means that Jenkins X will create a CI/CD story for you that will use Route 53 to connect it to application load balancer to read HTTP requests coming to certain hosted zone on Route 53, forward them into Elastic Load Balancer, which is in turn connected to Nginx ingress controller installed in your cluster. Then starting from this point, Nginx ingress controller will dispatch your HTTP traffic to appropriate nodes depending on your ingress rules, which also will be configured by Jenkins by default, and you can change them, but Jenkins will provide you reasonable defaults. Also, Jenkins assumes that if you are using AWS, you would like to use Amazon ECR for storing Docker images, and I would say that this is a good idea because this, from my point of view, very reasonable choice. If you are using AWS, then storing your Docker images in ECR is really good choice. You have you have nice comprehensive story related to AIM configuration. You can easily define which users who already have access to your AWS infrastructure should have access to your images, all this kind of stuff that you will that you will need at a certain point of time. And all this storage like ECR storage and storage for Jenkins and for pods will be backed by Amazon EBS by default, and this also, like I would say, thematic choice for AWS applications. So this is all really nice together. Like I would say that Jenkins X creates this idiomatic AWS architecture for you and puts Kubernetes EKS and CI/CD story on top of that. All right, so without further ado, let's see Jenkins X on EKS in action. So first of all, you need to create a cluster. And in order to create cluster, it is enough just to execute this simple command that you can see here. This is all you need to create new EKS cluster. Under the hood, Jenkins X is smart enough to download EKSCTL, that awesome tool I mentioned before, and it will use that tool under the hood. And it is in general the approach that Jenkins X takes. Like if you would like to do something, it is single tool to root them all, so it will download necessary tools from Kubernetes ecosystem and use that under the hood. It will delegate to them, and this is a great approach in my opinion because you are using the best tools available for the ecosystem, but Jenkins X hides this fact from you a little bit and automate this kind of stuff for you. So I executed this command just before starting recording because it takes something like 15 to 20 minutes just to create EKS cluster. It's like a pretty slow process, but that's the way it is. So for the purpose of the demo, I executed that command before we started recording. So this is the output of the command. And as you can see, it tells EKSTL tells us that a CloudFormation script for this cluster has been created. And as you can see, this Flower Monster, this is the cluster that has been created like a moment ago. So let's check this out. Let's see kubectl get nodes. And yeah, in fact, I can see that I have cluster with 2 worker nodes created. Now let's install Jenkins X into this cluster. So this is the command that I can use for this purpose. Let me just copy that just to be sure that I don't screw up anything. All right, so let's go. All right. And Jenkins X will be now started in interactive mode, so it will be very talkative. It will ask me some questions and I will answer them. All right, so Jenkins X detected that there is no ingress controller in this vanilla cluster, and yeah, that's true. And yeah, please be so kind and install ingress controller because I need that for the demo. Okay. All right. So right now, Jenkins X installs ingress controller into my cluster. And just after this, it should install Jenkins X platform, including Jenkins server. Okay, so while Jenkins X is figuring stuff out, we can cheat a little bit and use kubectl to see what is happening under the hood. All right, let's just answer some questions. So Jenkins X is asking me if I would like to use GitHub for storing Jenkins X configuration there. So yeah, definitely. All right, pipelines definition also. All right. Yeah, so to keep long story short, I just created like default installation of the Jenkins server that will be deployed into Kubernetes. It's just like answering all those questions like yes, yes, yes. I could also run Jenkins X in the batch mode, and in this mode it will just automatically answer yes to those questions. But I wanted you actually to see what kind of questions you could get asked because it's pretty interesting. Like the fact that you don't have ingress and Jenkins X detects that. It's pretty cool if you ask me. All right, so now Jenkins X is installing the platform. Yeah, of course, it could take some time. And in the meantime, we could, for example, ask kubectl, like get to see what pods has been installed in kube system namespace. I would expect that ingress controller is there. And drum rolls, and yeah, as you can see, Nginx ingress controller has been installed there like 2 minutes ago. So yeah, it's great. Okay, probably we need something like a minute more. In the meantime, let's see what namespaces we have available. All right, so I can see that there is also JX namespace created. So let's see what is in this namespace. Oh, okay, so actually, as you can see, in this namespace, there is Jenkins X installation of the controllers and all the processes that are needed by Jenkins, including the Jenkins server itself. And right now, all those services are downloaded and provisioned by Jenkins X. It can take a while, of course, like downloading Docker images always takes some time. All right, almost everything is here except for Nexus server. Nexus server is used by Jenkins X to put Java artifacts that it built. So we don't have to set up your own. And as you probably know, Nexus is like pretty huge beast, and it could take some time to get it started. All right, should be done pretty soon. Okay, it has been started. So just in the moment, Jenkins X platform installation should be completed. And there should be Jenkins X server available for us. Okay, Yeah. So Jenkins X has generated Jenkins admin password for us for this new installation. So let's try to log into Jenkins. This is the URL for the Jenkins installation. Okay, and we need password, that one that has been generated here. Let's use it. Almost there. Okay. This is Jenkins. Jenkins installed. Jenkins servers installed into EKS Kubernetes cluster. As we can see, right now Jenkins is building two environments for us, production and staging. Let's give it some time to complete this task. And in the meantime, we can actually create a new Spring Boot application. And Jenkins X have some helper for this as well. So let's use this command and create new Spring Boot application. That will be empty application displaying some random message. So yeah, I would like to. Let's name it EKS Demo JX. That would be the name of our new project. That would be Java project, default group ID. Yeah, I would like to create it now. So Jenkins X is generating a new Spring Boot application for us. We could import our existing application as well, but yeah, let's create something new. Okay, as you can see, also Jenkins X created ECR repository dedicated for the images of this application. So we will check it out in a moment. Okay, so application has been generated. So right now in the Jenkins, I should see that this application has been added into the pipeline. And yeah, I have pipeline for staging environment, for production environment, and additional pipeline for the project that I just created. And as we can see, it has been enqueued for building. So let's give Jenkins X some time for building it. And in the meantime, we can go into ECR and we should see, yeah, exactly this. So there is this empty repository. There are no images here created by Jenkins X for us. And this repository is waiting now for Jenkins X to create some image based on our Spring Boot application and push that image here. So let's give it a moment. Okay, right now we can see that build is in progress, and in a moment we should see Jenkins X creating image and deploying that image into this repository. Right, so Jenkins X is building a release right now, so that image should be pushed into the ECR like in a moment. Not there yet. The nice thing so far is that we were able to like install Jenkins X like within a minutes, create new project within a minutes and add it into the pipeline, have those two environments created again in the matter of minutes. And if everything goes well, we should see our first application being actually deployed just in a matter of seconds as well. let me see if I can get ingress entries for staging environment. So Jenkins X, as soon as that ECR image will be created, it will deploy that image into staging environment and will create ingress entry for that. So we should be able then to actually access the application. Yeah, almost there, almost there. So as you can see here, right now, application is promoted into the staging environment. So cool. So I guess that since promotion is in progress, then Docker image should be visible in ECR. And that is true. So Jenkins X built the Spring Boot application for us, generated Docker image for us, and pushed that Docker image here into ECR. And right now, this ECR image is promoted into the staging environment. This is something in progress. Drum rolls. Almost there. So promotion should complete like any second. I promise. Okay. All right, so this is the missing piece for the build process. Since Jenkins X is using GitOps approach for managing your environment, like everything, the environment configuration, including the application version that should be deployed, is defined in Git repository. So we need to merge this pull request into our Git repository. And actually, we can like just use this command to display this repository. So it's that staging environment. Yeah. So this is the definition of the environment, and right now this pull request has been merged, or is being merged into the this environment. And as soon as that process will complete, that application will be available on the staging environment. And this is exactly that change that has been merged. If you take a look at the commits, it tells that pull request that has been merged and is promoting version 001 of the application into staging environment. And yeah, this is exactly the version that has been built a moment before. Okay, so I can see that ingress entry for this application has been created. I will just copy that and access it in the browser. And that should access this application in the staging environment. And this is exactly what it is. As you can see, this is the application. It has been deployed into staging namespace, into staging environment. I can also see if the pod is running there. So yeah, this is the PLD of the application, and this ingress entry connects this URL with this application. So yeah, so we just installed Jenkins X and just run our new application through the CI/CD pipeline to staging environment in just a matter of minutes. And now, if we would like to deploy the same version of the application, which is 001, this image here, if you would like to deploy it into production environment, is as simple as executing this command here. which tells that we would like to promote version of the application 001 into production environment. So unfortunately, we are running out of time and have to finish the presentation, so I won't make this promotion because it will probably take something like another 5 minutes. But this is basically how simple is that. So as you could see, it's just a matter of minutes to set up new cluster using Jenkins X on EKS, and then install Jenkins X, create new application, promote it into staging environment, and then promote that into the other environment of your choices. So I hope that this quick presentation and demo was helpful. If you would like to ask about anything, feel free to reach to me. You can reach me with Slack. You can use the chat here in the presentation. You can ping me on Twitter if you got some questions later on. It's like, I'm here available for you. Thank you.